think we'll start with, a team that's learning from, the games that we played earlier in the season, just in terms of when we started the season, we talked about no big runs. We didn't want to be a team that couldn't stop the bleeding. No big runs for our opponents. And I told them at halftime, we kind of got away from that concept. Big run in Connecticut after a lead, and obviously that same thing happened. And just their talk on the bench is just learning from those games. And 4 minutes to go, they were all telling each other, no overtime. No overtime. But I said I didn't mind because our record wasn't bad. I think the record that you shared with me before the game. So just kidding, I didn't tell them that. No overtime was okay with us. Questions?
Really carried the day for you. Your defense, particularly in the fourth quarter, really carried the day for you. Is that how you want them to play? Because you've been talking for years about being difficult to play against, and you certainly look very difficult to play against today.
Well, and this team's been doing that. We started in training camp. We felt like the first time we did a defensive drill, we thought that we had a good defensive team. We felt like their movements and their understanding of where to be when. Our schemes are not difficult, and they're just a group that has made it their identity as we work through our offense. And I would say that the fourth quarter was more like the first quarter, where we were really committed to what we were trying to get done. We got away from it in the second quarter. We were imploring them in the third quarter, to understand the path to be successful. And so it was sort of an ebb and flow type of game, where you had a couple players that maybe just weren't as engaged in what we were trying to do, but we had others that came in and picked them up. And so I loved what our bench did today. Got a lot of help. I loved the game that Bridget Carlton played today. But defensively, the buy-in that we're getting is tremendous.
So you're up 20 at one point in the first half.
21.
21. And then after that technical and ensuing score on the possession, it's tied. And then from then on, it was like 29 to 13.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of started with Kayla maybe getting herself going a little bit by getting a little fired up there, don't you think?
Yeah, she wasn't happy that she came out in the middle of the third quarter or like at an earlier time. She wasn't happy. So we had a quick convo about what was needed, and she started getting going. She started hitting some threes, and defensively, she was working through it. I don't think physically she was feeling the greatest, but we just didn't have time for that. We needed to do what we had to do. But K-Mac, it was great to see her get engaged in that way. I don't necessarily want to give away free points with tees, but if it leads to those big runs, we'll live with it.
But she clearly felt like she had been fouled on that possession.
Yeah. And the possession of her teammate, Fee.
Right. And then, boom, three-pointer, an 11-0 run, and you're never trailing again.
Yeah.
That's kind of when you look at the box score today, everybody kind of had minutes like that today, where they were like the ones who were doing it. Bridget with a key steal and fouled 2 free throws. Fee, who didn't have a ton of points, but her defense. I mean, just talk about kind of how the team kind of seemed to trade times when they were leading the team.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we felt. There were, Bridget Carlton, and her first minutes were great. Then she came in, and minutes weren't what we wanted. Kind of got on her a little bit at halftime about what we needed. She came back to us. Exactly what you're saying. That court had ebbs and flows where, the game's getting hard for her because she's drawing different types of defenders she's not used to. Connecticut with Bonner, they went with Laney on her some today, and so she's learning this new life and working through that on the fly, and so she's playing ebbs and flows. I just thought Dorka and Alanna, their sense for the game. And like you said, they had moments, where Lan was really good, or if Lan had, tougher moments, there was Dorka And we did that as a team. And so that's what we said. We just love the game, the win being, Bridget Carlton picking up Diamond Miller, and then Chechi having, so the small forwards having Diamond's back. So it was that kind of game for us that we felt really good. And when people say a team win, that's what we felt like today was.
And could you just tell us about your thoughts on Natia today?
Heidemann, same thing as Kent just mentioned. She had some really fine moments in her first stint when she was first in the game. And then I just love putting her in the situation she was in. We have lots to teach, and so I'm really eager to get into some film with her. But she's impacting the game when she's in there. She gives us something different with her speed, with her three ball. The threes will start falling. We're not worried about that. I want her to understand more of her shot gravity, which will allow her to seek the paint and play make more. And that's what we're asking for from her. But we love having T on our team.
Cheryl, just how helpful is it to be able to interchange Alanna and Dorka at the 5? I know you played both of them together at the start of the fourth quarter with some success, especially defensively.
Yeah.
And then when you consider you could put Fee at the 4 next to either one of them, just, I guess, what does that provide your defense?
Yeah, and we knew that. We liked, the sort of the trio of their combinations. I think somebody asked me, would you put Lan and Dorka together? So hell yeah. Lan can guard 4s and Dorka can guard 4s. And so you can do different things. We needed some size on JJ. That was great for Dorka. Lan's agility, playing Stewart. They're both interested in, doing whatever's needed and playing off of each other. So that trio of bigs is a nice thing to have versatility-wise. And then to have on the bench, 2 players in Sika and Alyssa, that trying to find moments where we can get them involved, like we did with Sika getting her some minutes today early, in that game. We're just going to keep trying. I like our collection of bigs. I mean, I really like every position that we have on the roster. But in terms of your question, yeah, I like that trio a lot.
And then when you consider how balanced everything was offensively for you, what do you think is feeding that most offensively?
The selfless nature of every player. I think them understanding that's our path. I think we're leading the league in assist percentage. Today, 26 on 32 field goals, above 80%. That's who we have to be. So when you think about teams that have big threes and that narrative about a big three, our path is, having really good players. Maybe we don't have, other than Fee and MVP, other teams might possess, two other players to go along with an MVP candidate. For us, it's going to be about it by committee. Really good players that are on this roster and just kind of doing it as a collective.
And defensively, how does it feel to keep your opponent under 40% again?
Well, it was nice. We had a chance to host Mark and Alex and a couple of people that were with him, and I shared with him. I said, did you know that since 2011, that when we hold our opponents below 40%, we're 153 wins to just 7 losses? And they were impressed. And they said it seemed, like that's obvious that that's the path. And so we're going to try to do that every game.
Alanna has been an impressive addition to the team. What are your thoughts on the value she's provided, and what intangibles have stuck out about her impact so far?
Yeah. I was asked this early on, how it was going with Lan, and I shared this with Lan, that from the first day, when you say, I don't worry about her, I don't worry about what she's doing, I trust everything she's doing. It's one of the highest things, the highest praise you can put on someone. Her instincts, where to be defensively, offensively, her screening and rolling, her understanding a combination of a 3-ball, and she got some tough ones that she didn't finish at the rim, but her passing IQ, her defensive IQ. So her value is, it's really high. She was one of the best players in the league last year analytically. And so we're just hoping to try to continue to help her grow and being the player that she knows she can be, and obviously we know she can be.
I know basketball is a game of runs. It always has been, but the extremes that you saw today, this way, that way, and then this way, was it unique to you?
I might feel so when I'm watching it, but when you're in it, you're just kind of trying to deal with the situation that presents itself. I mean, my disappointment, as I shared with them, is we have to be a team that can be counted on to not give up big runs, especially fueled by our poor offensive decisions, passing and catching. We showed them a couple of the turnovers, which had nothing to do with New York's defense. That fueled them. We can live with all of a sudden if you made a bunch of shots, you know it's probably going to turn. And so getting shots on goal, getting your defense set is a heck of a lot better than what we were doing with turnovers and getting them excited. And then we lost our aggression. So I think they shared that disappointment, and we knew we were going to have to battle, to finish the thing out. And another great learning experience for us.
9, no turnovers in the first quarter, 9 in the second.
Yeah. Oh, you had to catch up. We got to stay on our path. So we're going to get there.
We'll pivot to Zoom for a final question from Brad.
Yes. Hi, Coach.
Hi,
How
Brad.
are you?
Good, Brad.
Good, man. You hit 50% from 3, and you tied a franchise record with 7 different players hitting the 3-ball. How important is your 3-point game going to be going down the line, and how does it feel to have so much offensive firepower?
Well, and we talked so much about this as we were building the team. There were a couple of areas we wanted to improve, and that was certainly a focus. And we felt like, again, to get Fee the ability to be successful where she wants to be successful, we just felt like we had to have that balance. And so it showed itself today. I thought against Connecticut, I think we shot 21. We only made 4. We loved every shot we took. Some nights it goes in more than others. And so there was that balance for us today, that more went in today, that didn't go in our last game. But anybody will tell you, it's really valuable to be able to spread out a defense. Yep, you're welcome.